Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Get Good NA Season 7. It's our winners semifinals tonight. I am Corbeck, joined in the booth by Vincent, and we have an exciting game to bring you here. It's Tidal Typhoons versus Reddit Lucios here tonight for us. And Vincent, this is looking like a bit of an interesting matchup between these two teams.
That it is. Tidal Typhoons coming in with a 4-1 record, whilst the Reddit Lucios are sitting pretty at 6-2 in this winners semifinals matchup. Diamond Division, by the way, intermediate as per the usual arrangement. But honestly, I'm pretty excited for this only because last week we got some stomps. I was, first seed versus last seed and all that good stuff. But this time, this is looking a little bit closer of an affair, and I think that should be a good time. I'm definitely excited for this one.
Yeah, it is looking a little bit closer comparatively, especially on records. Right, the Tidal Typhoons, I think, are 4-1. I'm not sure what happened to some of those mystery games that were lost in the closet, but if they have a 4-1 record, they're probably doing pretty good, right? And over on the other side, I believe Reddit Lucios were sitting at, what was it, 6-2? So, teams that have got some wins under their belt, they've taken a loss or two respectively, but still relatively even when things come down to it. Now, it is worth pointing out here that, interestingly enough, I believe the Reddit Lucios have a much deeper roster than the Tidal Typhoons. I think we're looking at an additional almost 3-4 players maybe sitting on their roster, whereas the Reddit Lucios do not have that flexibility. Just 6 players coming into this match. No real opportunity for substitutions here in this 5-map series, potentially 5-match series.
Yeah, I think I got those flipped, but yes, you're right. I mean, there's just one player coming in, and I think there was just an emergency ringer added for Tidal Typhoon.
Yeah.
But it's Reddit Lucio that actually has that deeper bench that you were discussing. And I mean, the thing is that half of that bench, in fairness, is like a manager and probably last second additions, not necessarily players that you want to have playing all the time. But the thing is, sometimes you got to do what you got to do in these games. That's the beauty of Get Good. Like, sometimes you have to play with what you got, and if what you got is your manager coming in, I mean, that's what happens. And, well, I mean, clearly it's worked out for these Reddit Lucios, at least thus far, sitting at that 6-2 record. I know, I mean, yeah, there's 2 losses there, but that just, to me, that does just builds character. You know what I mean? Like, those are character building losses, if you ask me.
Yeah, all right. Character building losses, sure. To quote a famous Meat Sports quote, "Show me a good loser, and I'll show you a loser." But still, character building is a thing. I'll give you that for sure. Our first map of the night will be Lijiang Tower, and that's where it's all going to start here. That'll be our control map to get things going. The classic, the Koth map du jour here in the Overwatch community, no matter what level people seem to be playing at, and a solid map indeed, Vincent, and a good one to start off, and also maybe gives an opportunity for at least one of these teams to flex their namesake just a little bit if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, that's what I was just about to get there. Reddit Lucios, come on guys. If you're named Reddit Lucios, you have to give me at least one environmental kill here. Surely. I mean, whether it be Garden, whether it be Night Market, it's got to be something, somewhere, sometime, I would hope. Because if there's not, then I simply said, I'm going to be disappointed. And you don't want to disappoint me, because that's obviously what this is all about. Totally.
Yeah, they're right. I'm glad you told them just in case they forgot. It is about not disappointing you at the end of the day. And that is the critical team these things will be battling for, like gladiators in a Roman Colosseum, really, but instead just playing on a large superstructure in China. But it's all the same, really, at the end of the day. And, an interesting map is Lijiang, right? It's got its 3 stages. It's got a lot of diversity. It does allow for a lot of comp differentiation if that's what teams choose. But over time, right, we have seen certain things become very common. For example, what are the odds that we see the traditional Symmetra teleporter coming out here, even though this is, more of a diamond elo?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think the odds of us seeing Symmetra at least once, if not 3 times, to be honest, is guaranteed. I mean, we're gonna see it at least one time. I would assume Control Center is the guaranteed one, but Night Market, obviously, what you were alluding to with going up onto the very top of the point and getting that early aggression. Obviously, a Doomfist would be interesting to kind of just disrupt that sort of push. I always find that to be a fun idea. But regardless of that that question, I think Brawl going to be the name of the game, particularly over on Control Center. But once we get to a place like Garden, that all becomes a big question mark. We don't know what we're going to see necessarily, and obviously with Owl right now being in hero pools, I mean nobody really knows. Like obviously there's tier 2, but last was Trials, and I mean that was a little bit ago as it is right now anyway, and that was a whole big question mark in and of itself. So with all of that said, I think that meta wise we're still sitting up in the air, especially in intermediate division where, like you said, Diamond, things can work that don't typically work, and things can be very interesting. We'll just put it that way. I'm not gonna expound on that just yet until we might see it.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I agree with you completely, Let's put our thinking caps to the test here. We'll go ahead and get started on Lijiang. I believe the teams are readied up, and we are getting into the map. It should be an exciting clash here to start off our winners semifinals, and well, we'll see if what we had to say does pan out to be true. You're right. The guiding light of Owl is not here as much as it used to be, and it looks like there might be a slight delay in starting the game. So I promise it will be coming, and I apologize for the false advertising right there, but it does tend to happen sometimes. But yeah, the guiding light is a little bit gone here at the moment, at least in that regard. And we see that trickle down effect from Owl all the way down the list to pretty much every elo these days, the way the game is. So it is a bit interesting to see how people kind of cling and fill that area that's been left by that with the introduction of hero pulls. Whether or not we'll see a significant shift here, I don't know, but I think you're spot on there, Vincent, when you say that we're going to see a lot of Brawl, right? Lijiang Tower is a map that just lends itself to that so well. The Control Center basically demands Brawl, for lack of a better word. So something that we should definitely be keeping an eye out on as we get started here. There it is. Told you it was coming. It has not left us, Vincent. We are at it.
That's right. Definitely going to be here. And like I said, emergency ringer coming in. That's going to be Nerf Bastion themselves coming in for the side of the Tidal Typhoon. But, I mean, listen, I don't know how much that's going to be the difference maker here for this side. But, I mean, honestly, who knows? When it comes right down to it, it's the Reddit Lucios who are setting up to look very pretty for us. Right now, the Tidal Typhoon going for that Brawl style that we were talking about with the Lucio and the Batiste. Now swaps come in, and it's Brawl, but not quite the same for the Reddit Lucios, as we're seeing that double shield composition. And there it is, what we were talking about. Symmetra is on the board, Corbin.
Straight into the fight then in the server room, wasting no time at all. A couple of shots there coming out from Monty, just trying to keep people up, but Frozen will go down first here. Obscorp getting the early kill. Boom follows it up and is immediately traded out by Tannic B. You see Boopa there, she's leading the charge onto the point, trying to keep the team up and in the fight. Nico's here too, but he's run into a bit of a problem here because Obscorp has just slaughtered the roster behind him, and that will be a retreat.
Yeah, the problem there, I mean, yeah, it was immediate trade, but whenever you get Boom in the back line doing the old right click as it does, it's simply a powerful tool, and it took out the main support right there, making life quite miserable. That is the manager that I was talking about coming in here and subbing in. Oh, our shatter. And as we've lost Korvik, unfortunately. And a quick team fight victory for Tidal Typhoons. And, I mean, to be fair, was off the back of a pretty massive ult advantage in the beginning fights. That's kind of what happens whenever you win it. You just continue moving in that direction. As now, maybe an opportunity for Reddit Lucios to come back in if Obscorp can't find something with this time.
I'll remind you to write a strongly worded letter to Discord at some point in time, but for now, focusing on the fight here, the barrier invested by Frozen on the side of the Reddit Lucios. That will give them the opportunity to at least push this entryway just a little bit. It'll get them through the lobby door. They're not able to capitalize too much more on the play outside of that, but a tire coming out now from Tannic B. The counter tire coming out from Obscorp, so a bit of an exchange of explosives there. Worf going down early. Tannic B trading it out as revenge. Frozen here playing around these teleporters, trying to make the best use of this amplification matrix, but Boom, ever deadly with the 6 sharpshooter there, picking up two, both Frozen and Mani down, and that will not win the fight on point. That being said, well, no, it's Obscorp who comes in and saves the day. Zoom is putting up a mighty fight right there. The two tanks trying to keep it alive here, but Nikos, he's just getting bullied off, and somehow at the end of it all, Tanikbeat comes swinging in on Junkrat and keeps the dream alive. But ever likely, that Tidal Typhoon percentage just ticking up right here. They will shut down Nerf Bastion's Ringer, and they will flip the point, but at 98%.
Yeah, and that's just that right now. Tidal Typhoon, they can sit back, they can relax. Scorpic, they don't have any problems because all they got to do build up a couple ults, and they've already got a couple in their pockets. Nerf Bastion, Cashews, both gonna have those tank ults online, and well, they're powerful tools.
Well, it's a shatter coming out early on right there, but can they follow it up? Boom gets one with the high noon. The kills trading back and forth here. Duplicate Matrix thrown out at the top of the control room stairs. That's allowing for a lot of damage to come out right here. And poor Zoom, he's just caught looking right there. They're investing the sound barrier at the tail end of this too. I don't even know if they necessarily need to, all things considered, but they will use it to just pummel Nikos back into the dirt. That leaves one desperate contest and a bait sound barrier coming out from Poofa, but she cannot stay alive up there on the con in the middle of everything. You'll hear Noon coming out there, a tire in somewhere as well. There's a rolling ball here to add to the confusion. Tanikbeat does manage to pick one off, but the fight continuing to boil at least temporarily. They have managed to flip it back in their favor. So the Reddit Lucios, they're fighting for their lives right now, but can they make it stick? Tanikbeat gets one. The amplification matrix making all the difference right here is Mani adds another one to the kill total. It looks like they might just have shoved them back here, Vincent, just in time.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it was a big ask, a monumental task, if you will, but they've done it none the same. Zoom doing incredible work on that spin to win. It looked as if, I mean, honestly, Tidal Typhoons, they just had no idea what to do against that spin to win. But regardless of that fact, they also invested heavily, did Tidal Typhoon, and so now it's kind of got to go back to the drawing board. It's just this Rip Tire that's online, and that could be big, but it's going to have to get creative.
Obscorp sneaking into the back line, looks for a pick, but Nikos, he'll take it out of midair. He is over on that Reinhardt now, having switched off to cover Zoom, who is on the ball. They will continue to fight here. An amplification matrix did come out in the midst of all of that from Star Wars King, but not the picks they wanted. Tanikbeat does manage to knock one down, but Boom and Obscorp are doing a lot of work right here. The high noon coming out, the shield was quite low there, but they will survive. And now Zoom begins the classic ball stall again. He's going to deploy the minefield here as well, just keeping his opponents on his toes. Beautiful little bit of ball play right there to try and knock them back to the minefield. Unfortunately, did not have the desired effect. Cashews gets frozen in the grab. Obscorp finishing off Nikos, and they might just have broken them enough to flip this point. Now it's just desperation time.
Yeah, I mean, one player potentially going to be there at the tease, but how long is that going to last? And beyond that, right, you have to talk about the whole idea behind this is I don't think that's going to matter. Yeah, not going to happen. It was a beautiful shatter at the end, I'll give them that, but I mean, the victory, it falls towards the wayside. Tidal Typhoon, what they did well right there, Corbett, is that they capped the point. So that whole time that Reddit Lucios was just barely touching, barely getting back in, they weren't getting any sort of ticks. They weren't getting any sort of percentage on that point, and it was all Tidal Typhoon. It bought enough time for Tidal Typhoon to pick up the pace, pull in for yet another team fight, and pull themselves over the line. So, Reddit Lucios, they've had, an interesting start to this thing. I will say there's been some weaknesses. Nerf Bastion in particular seems a little bit forward from the rest of the team at times, and it's had to be Star Wars King to bail them out of that scenario. We'll see if that continues.
Well, you can't help but wonder if that is just a little bit of discordance here, but an immediate drop in and straight onto the point they go. And it'll be Nerf Bastion who strikes early there, takes Zoom out of the equation. The Immortality field was invested by Mani there as well, but they get nothing out of it. Tanikbeat just trying to back up, but it'll be Nerf Bastion again on the pressure here, continuing to surge forward here. We'll go ahead and take position up in the restaurant at a very clean early fight win from the Tidal Typhoons.
And remember, I was talking about the potential of a Doomfist on this point in particular, Corbett. I said it's always interesting. It really just that makes life miserable. Now, you see Tanikbeat going to be swapping onto the Echo. That is going to make life pretty tough for that Doomfist in particular, as there's not a whole ton of ultimates coming in, other than Nerf Bastion, who's getting awful close to that Earth Shatter.
Well, here comes Static Beast sneaking in on the backside, just firing out the damage that Echo can pump out straight to the enemy team. Manny has to use the Immortality Field early again, but the team at least is hanging. That'll force the barrier out into contention right here. Static Beast drifts down in front of everything. Huge kill there under Nerf Bastion. He was going for the charge, but he got caught out looking. Fortunately, Boom able to trade it right back onto Zoom. A battle of the Ooms right there. Frozen gets one with the high noon and goes down almost immediately. Static Beast continuing to be an absolute menace. A B, if you will, dropping in, stinging, dropping back out. Now just trying to push the point here. Might actually manage to take this one.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest issue for Tidal Typhoon is who's shooting Static Beast. There ain't nobody in there that could actually make that shot. And, well, that's going to be it. Okay, I was about to say death, and yeah, eventually Obscorp does fall. Not sure why Nerf Bastion's still committing in here as well. But, I mean, listen, fair enough. You got the sound barrier out from Poofa. I mean, I can't be angry, can I? But nonetheless, this is ultimately not going to be a fight victory. But so many ults invested.
Oh, Static Beast invests here as well. They'll pull out the hologram and continue going. So what looked like a desperation effort there on the side of the Tidal Typhoon, that turned out to be a real waster because they just used a Diva ult here as well. Good lord.
Listen, I was going to get on Tidal Typhoon for basically just walking in for the free feed, but, well, it didn't work out that way. Reddit Lucios, not only do they invest heavily into that one. It's Hashu's now going to have the big ticket ultimate online. That's the Graviton Surge, and that can be utilized with the Doomfist quite heavily.
Oh, that shatter at point blank range from Zoom. The sound barrier comes out and keeps Typhoon alive through all of it. Now Boom going to work. Obscorp is here as well, trying to make something happen. Boom gets another one. The deadly 6-shooter just keeps rolling, make a triple kill there for the McCree as Obscorp plays a little bit of a juggling game in the back line there with Nikos. And that'll be more than enough for them to flip the point. So looks like it paid off. If that was strategic, Vincent, it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I guess that's where it works, but I certainly was confused. Regardless of my confusion, though, Reddit Lucios are going to have to get out of this dazed state that they're probably in after that one. Frozen going to have the Deadeye online, but not a whole lot else to contest other than that. And, well, with the help of the defense matrix, that's entirely denied.
Oh, it's well played. Attempt the high noon. Unfortunately, it just won't have the luck they won. Obscorp gets one. Star Wars King getting in there as well. Static Beast continues to be an absolute nuisance fighting around here, but it's not really enough to make that much of a difference. I say that, though. They do manage to drop in there on the back of Obscorp. Now they are investing in with that clone. They're pushing straight forward onto the point. Nikos does lose the mech here, but they are trying to turn this into an effective fight on the point. They'll get a grab out early there. Tanaki just gets two straight up right away. Monty adding another one as well, and they will flip the point. The touch from Worf coming just a few seconds too late.
Indeed, and well, listen, if Reddit Lucios are going to be playing goats there for just a moment, I guess that's fair enough, a way to roll over your opponents. And that said, Cashew's Obscorp going to be coming up on that big ticket combo once again, as both the support ultimates also online. Now, Poofa the key has a sound barrier. She needs to defend this.
Well, they'll push forward here, and Amplification Matrix is up. They surge forward onto the point. Nerf Bastion just trying to get through the door, but the sound barrier coming out there will keep the Reddit Lucios alive, at least temporarily. Nerf Bastion taking a ton of damage, keeping alive through all of it. Amazing work from the support line there, and finally, Cashews and Boom, they start to rack up some kills. Boom here playing on the outside edge, looking for a pick, won't quite find it, but it's okay. Nerf Bastion, he's in, he's swinging, he's getting the kills, and the entirety of Tidal Typhoon gets on the action there to flip the point and walk in a win.
Yeah, 2-0 victory is what it's looking like as Tidal Typhoon take that second point here on Lijiang Tower. But beyond that, Korvik, it was well done, by the way, to that tank line. Cashews, Nerf Bastion, the patience that they were having over there on that was unmatched. And I mean, props to the support line as well. I think Cashews spent like that whole last fight at sub 100 HP, just the whole time. Like the support's just desperately looking for the heals onto the off take there, but able to put enough damage down, and that leads to a victory. Ultimately, I guess ignoring the well, very effective Tanic in the skies was ultimately the right strategy.
Yeah, sometimes you do have to make that decision, right? When choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea, some people do choose to just jump in feet first into the ocean or into the arms of Satan, I guess. But in this kitchen, it wasn't necessary to really make that choice. They did just ignore Tanic B, and it worked out. And it was a very interesting choice, and it was very kind of, I'll be genuinely honest, I'm a little surprised that it worked, because let's be fair, Tanic B was playing that Echo very well, was really putting the pressure on there, but the Flyer just not able to get it done when the rest of the team couldn't come around. And I just want to say it again, the support line for Tidal Typhoon did amazing work right there. We saw Nerf Bastion standing in the doorway just eating damage like he's a kid at a Golden Corral, and he just did not go down. It was very impressive indeed.
Yeah, and I think that the reason that it worked out for them actually over the course of time is not that Tanic B wasn't doing enough. Was getting like 3 picks a fight. Like what more can
Yeah.
you do as
Oh
a
yeah.
DPS player? Like I don't want to pretend like it was their fault, because it was not. But what happened is that that one fight where the heavy investment from Reddit Lucios came through, 3 ults for basically no reason. That was the big loser in that one. In control, I mean, it's 3 fights and you're done. That's basically it. So you lose your ult economy, which is what happened in that one fight. It's pretty much over. And Tidal Typhoon taking a great opportunity off the back of that to close the map in 2-0 fashion.
Well, we will be going to our next map here, and it will be Eichenwald. That's going to be the choice here coming out. So, a hybrid here, a trip to Germany, and a map that offers up some strategic perspectives of its own. It also offers up the opportunity to bring back the Flyer. I think if Tanic B wanted to make a run for it, this is a perfectly acceptable map for them to do so. That being said, maybe we'll see Obscore back on that. Doomfist again. Lost my mind there. Nearly said Lucio, but I was thinking of the other team and the Reddit Lucios. But we might see him back on the Doomfist here if he so chooses. Still, I would not be surprised at all if that Echo makes a reappearance.
I wouldn't. And I actually would ideally see probably Boom playing on the McCree or the Ash to deny a potential Echo or Pharah that can be quite effective here. I mean, Pharah, Omega Lol, like we've seen Pharah since Echo's been released, but whatever. A man can dream, can't he? But on the Reddit Lucio side, I would not at all hate the Echo coming back in. But remember, like you're alluding to, the Doomfist is quite strong on Eichenwald. I sometimes call that the home of the Doomfist rollout, and I mean, in some ways, it is. It's so effective. I mean, really at any level. But it's all about coordination and whether or not you can deny the Doomfist and just pull out a stun or something. Maybe a Brigida would be the answer. But I have to be honest, Obscore probably is going to find big value even if those adjustments come through. It's just a matter of how fast will Reddit Lucios recognize that that is a problem.
Yeah, and I mean, even at this level, at least, even a good Doomfist is, it's hard to stop, even with stuns in the pocket. Sometimes a solid Doomfist player can just kind of rip a hole in an enemy team. So it'll be interesting to see if they do bring him out, right? The profusion of high ground right there, especially making those engagements so good for a Doomfist on this particular map. We'll see if they choose to go that route again. I think they could also get some value just going back to kind of those spam comps. Let's say, spam brawl comps they sort of showed us over on Lijiang Control Center as well. Just maybe, sub that Symmetra out for your hit scan of choice and get them in there instead. I mean, both of the kind of primary DPS players here for Tidal Typhoon and the Reddit Lucios, both of them played a pretty good Junkrat, right? A very effective Junkrat. Both of them had their moments where they jumped
Yeah.
back on the point and kind of saved the team from certain disaster, kept the dream alive. So I can see those making a reappearance here as well. But there is one problem with that, which is that Tanic B was the one who was playing the Junkrat and the Echo. So
Yeah.
would, has to make that choice. That is a choice they cannot avoid.
Yeah, a difficult choice indeed. But beyond that, I do want to kind of clarify here. Remember, at Tidal Typhoon, they walk away with map one and it does say 2-0 in the victory column. But
Mhm.
that said, Reddit Lucios, they weren't all that far behind. It was one big mistake over on Night Market that really net them that loss, and it was awful close when it came down to the control center side of things. Honestly, I think just depending on value between a couple of ults, that really is what turned the tide. And of course some nice timings from Tidal Typhoon seems to kind of be what Tidal Typhoon have been doing well. Their timings are quite on point thus far, which seems like a weird thing to say, because I did mention that this Nerf Bastion main tank does tend to get a very forward position quite often, but it seems to be working well enough. Like we said, the ringer coming in last minute emergency has to pull up, and right now has been performing pretty well. Only thing that I would say I would give some constructive criticism on would be a couple of those shatters. They were a little bit rougher. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to block it as many as I would have hoped, but listen, that happens. It is what it is. Zoom obviously doing good work on the other side as well, making life miserable.
Yeah, Zoom hit a couple of really good shatters across Lijiang, but unfortunately, they were often in situations where the team just wasn't able to capitalize, or where one of the support players had the opportunity to make up for it. But we are moving on to our next map here, and it will be Eichenwald there. The sides have not flipped or anything like that, so you will see what you see there on the screen. We talked about the interesting potential that we see here with Flyers. We talked about Doomfist. Of course, it's all just speculation on the part of Vincent and I. These two teams might have strategies that we really have no idea what we're going to look at here in a second. And well, Flyers are making an appearance, but hey, there's a character you were just talking down a second ago.
Indeed, yeah, I didn't expect to see it, and well, especially on the defense, if I'm being completely honest about it. If there's anywhere that you would expect to see the Pharah, it would typically be the offense of this point, but I mean, there's no reason that it can't be effective. Like we talked about, I think that anything can work at this point in time, at this SR range, and it's a matter of whether or not you're able to do it correctly, and no reason that ObsCorp can't, as we're seeing an actual mirror on the tank line and the support line here. Interestingly enough, double bubble going to be the name of the game. I expected a more traditional brawl, but I'm not at all disappointed to see this double bubble roll out.
Well, a lot of the problem here might be that Tidal Typhoon doesn't have a very strong hit scan counter. That being said, though, Star Wars King gets an early pick right there. Frozen caught looking back at the entrance, and his early death might need a bit of a slow push, but it's traded out almost immediately, and you'll make that trade any day. You get the res out early on, and Tanakvi is just a menace here. Now putting pressure on the top deck, trying to curtail Nerf Bastion, push him down into the computer store, but Zoom does die in the entryway again, and well, that maybe will signal a little bit of beating the drums to retreat. They're playing around here, Vincent, but I don't think they wanted to push in just quite yet.
No, not without your main thing. That's certainly going to be a problem. I mean, well done for Tanakvi. Unfortunately, with that pick on the Zoom, it just denies any sort of potential to go in and take advantage, and that's going to force a retreat temporarily. But all that being said, a good position to push in from now if you're right at Lucios.
Oh, Frozen just annihilates Boom on the outside edge, and he'll go ahead and add ObsCorp to it as well. So both DPS down for the defenders right there. Worf does come in and get the res to get the Pharah back in the action, but Manny, the big trade there, is back up as well. And well, there's a Nano Monkey on the field right there, and that energized monkey from space, he's just going to go off. That being said, Nerf Bastion and ObsCorp combining for some big kills. ObsCorp on the Pharah gets 3 in the back line. Nano Monkey, oh, I don't even think you need to worry about it. They've gone ahead and cleared everything by themselves.
Yeah, Nano Monkey v Nano Monkey there is what happened, but ultimately it was neither of the Nano Monkeys that were ending up mattering as much as ObsCorp does with the well-placed barrage. So, that said, we asked the question, would this be an effective strategy? Well, it seems to be, as Boom is swapped over onto a longer range hit scan DPS to maybe contend with Tanakvi.
Well, it's a bit of an ugly, narrow fight here. The Cloney is coming out from Tanakvi, and he's using it to apply pressure. The Primal coming out here as well. Frozen will manage to rack up one there with the high noon, but it's Zoom and Tanakvi who are doing most of the work here in the front line, really putting it on. Frozen adds another, and it's a whole team act there from the Red Lucios to break this open and go ahead and take this first point.
Yeah, not a ton of room for Boom to work with on that particular character, the Ashe. I mean, it's not a bad option, but whenever they came back in, there was already a whole lot of space being taken by Reddit Lucios, and they kind of denied a lot of potential. That said, now the flipping of the script happens, where Boom becomes basically the DPS hit scan that you want to be contending with as Cashews gonna have another one of these big ultimates up and online.
A Boom here just holding the fortress down. The other cowboy there to back up the cowgirl, but it is an early pick there on the Star Wars King, unfortunately. Liana not having a ton of luck today so far. Out comes the flashbang there. Unfortunately, Obscorp can just not bring down that kill on Tanakby, who will float away into the relative safety underneath the sight line. Still, Tanakby continuing to contest, but it's Boom who dies right there, unfortunately, as Tanakby continues to be an absolute menace. Nerf Bastion is down. The res does come in. Boom is brought back up, so the hit scan counter is still here, but they just cannot contest this Echo until I say that. Obscorp will trade it right back. Now Frozen putting the pressure on the front line. The cart continuing to roll this entire time. Not a lot of breathing room for him here.
Yeah, and Bufa gets that res, so it's going to be back for Tanakby, who's been absolutely magical.
Bit of a brief engagement right there. Zoom tries to push forward, but Tanakby and Frozen there cleaning up the kills. Obscorp from the high ground, though, will get two. Tanakby gets the refract almost immediately, but it is far too little too late. Still an attempt by Nikos here to keep the dream alive and just push in, but it's not quite working out. Nikos backs up just a little bit. The grab invested there for almost nothing at that point in time. Nikos tosses the bomb up into the air. Out comes the bomb. Cassius is down, and Nikos, well, he's down too.
Yeah, Nerf Bastion trying to get big value out of the out of the primal, but that's really not going to be the case, as unfortunately we are in a bit of a pause. Don't know if we had a DC or something going on. Technical issue regardless, well, apparently maybe the Blizzard server's having a little bit of a hiccup there. Regardless, we'll get it all sorted out and hopefully back into the game very shortly. But what I was saying is that Tidal Typhoon, they swapped a double hit scan, and they still were struggling with Tanakby. I mean, what is going on right there? I felt like the Echo was almost taunting them, just flying up, taking shots, focusing beams straight into their face, and nobody could hit them. Nobody at all. Everybody just missing shots, or I don't know if it was Tanakby just doing a good job of being difficult to hit. Regardless of what it was, it's been quite strong and only just now able to be stopped.
Well, if you're enjoying watching that Echo aggression, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a brief break here to sort out these server issues, and we'll be right back, hopefully before Overwatch 2 releases. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back here to GitGud NA Season 7. It's the winners semifinals. Tidal Typhoon versus the Reddit Lucios. I am Corbeck, joined here by Vincent, and unfortunately, the action was cut a little bit short there at the end of Eichenwald. I've been told that we won't get the end of that attack, but we will get the rest of the map, so that is good.
Yeah, it is. About a minute on the clock, supposedly, left for the Reddit Lucios, so they did a pretty good job of capping on Eichenwald. That's obviously a point in which you don't necessarily always see captures, and even when you do, the amount of time left is typically quite low. So, yeah, just over a minute is what we're seeing on that clock. So good news for the Reddit Lucios, but Tidal Typhoon now with it all to do, as they are going to be on the offense. And adjustments seem to be the name of the game for them, as it's Obscorp maybe going to be looking to go onto the Echo, while it's Tanakby going to be on the Pharah, but it's going to be on the defense once again. So clearly Tanakby and Bufa thinking something worked out well on this defensive setup for Obscorp. And Nerf Bastion, Reinhardt maybe could swap here in just a moment. Indeed, it is going to be the swap, as Boom goes for a Widowmaker here at the beginning, hoping to take the head off of Tanakby.
Well, that is a bold choice, I'll tell you that right now. Tanakby has plenty of cover to play behind if they play it smart, and we're seeing a good illustration of that right there. The tower, the ruined walls. It's a bit of a mess over here in Eichenwald, all things considered. Now hanging out there in the midst of everything, that will get you killed there. Poofa drops in and just tries to keep the Pharah alive there for a second. Getting boxed into a corner right now are the Reddit Lucios. That's not particularly great, but still, Nikos and Frozen managed to combine for some kills. Frozen going to continue to plague these attackers for as long as he can, as Tanakby gets progressively more and more bold here. Boom is on the Tracer now, so they have lost that long-distance hit scan, but a bit of an awkward engage, and the fight should finally wrap up.
Yeah, this is, I mean, almost a bit of a question mark of who can get the most value, Tanakby or Obscorp, because Frozen and Boom, they're both just like, well, we're going to let the Flyers do whatever the Flyers do and try and allow them to have space.
Well, Frozen eats an anti-nade right there, manages to get into cover. Meanwhile, a support is down, and Tanicby again. The Flyers just seem to fly right into their hands. They'll add 2 more kills to the count here, and Frozen hounds them like a dog with a bone all the way back to their spawn.
Yeah, Frozen's on top of everything, putting pressure onto that back line, and, well, apparently it's Tanicby who's closing that down, and nice movement, by the way, by that Tracer. No one saw it, but Frozen, nice job getting up on the high ground. I watched that, mate. I saw that. Good job. But, unfortunately, fancy movement is not going to be enough. The Pulse Bomb, though, might be. Where do you stick that one? Ideally, onto Star Wars King.
Well, they've got a nano boost here in the pocket as well, but Star Wars King, he was gonna use the nano, and Tanicby annihilates them with a barrage from above in the back line. Unfortunately, the Pharmacy duo pays for that play with their lives. Now it's just Frozen trying to claw this one back, and the Tracer might just be able to do it because Boom is down. Now here comes Zoom, getting in on the action, and he is zooming across the point in the Primal Rage right there, just putting pressure on that Flyer, trying to take ObsCorp out of the equation, and they do, and a disaster turned into a victory right there as they invest the nano boost here into Cashews, and Cashews is just gonna press W. He goes forward here, tries to trap Zoom inside, but it won't work, and that nano, well, ooh, they might want that one back.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, just maybe. I mean, it was good to get Poofa out, but then, in fairness, Poofa, she's going to have to swap over to a Lucio with this time bank in order to get back in time for the push. But now it's really all on the Cashews, and Nikos, by the way, who also has a Graviton Surge, could be utilized with Frozen's Pulse Bomb.
Well, Cashews, he's going to fire the grab. This is the solution to crack this nut, and does it work? Well, Nerf Bastion gets one. Poofa, she's down early on. ObsCorp chiming in quickly as well. The counter grab does come out there, but not nearly as effective as Nikos and Monty both go down in quick succession. ObsCorp with the room to run is just collecting kills, and they'll collect a point.
Yeah, ultimately, it was Cashews' grab. It was more aggressive, it was faster, and much better. And not to mention ObsCorp, who cleans up everything after the initial fight goes the way of Tidal Typhoons off the back of Cashews. So, adjustments being made here. Frozen, interesting, gonna be going for the Sombra. So, that EMP gonna be a key player in this, and unfortunately, hacked up and taken out is Nerf Bastion.
Oh, the Immortality Field coming out just a half a second too late right there from Star Wars King, and that might actually signal a loss of this fight. Frozen is over on the Sombra now. A desperate effort here to try and keep Boom alive through all of Zoom's bullying, but it will not happen. Poofa there to finish it off, and that will end that fight in fine succession.
Indeed, but the cart's still rolling, Korvik. That's the big problem. You know, taking this high ground control, it's all well and good as long as you can stop the cart for just a moment. And it's going to be ObsCorp, Boom, both having those DPS ults. And speaking of which, there's the duplicate going in.
Zoom up over the top onto the high ground here, doing their absolute work. ObsCorp is up here too, that clone as mentioned, fighting around. The knocking coming in right there. Zoom getting sectioned off, but it's Star Wars King who dies in the midst of all of this. A good play by Poofa, but Boom not one to leave it long. Trades back almost immediately, and the DPS come chiming in here for Typhoon. Boom gets another one, a beautiful high noon right there. Picks someone out through a tree, and again, the DPS duo just cracking along and winning that fight.
Yeah, what a brilliant job from ObsCorp there. Didn't get any kills, but didn't need to get any kills. Only disrupted. Basically took one half of the team, put them on the left side of the map, and then put the other half on the right side of the map. And from there, when you're split up, there's nothing you can do. And it's a capture of point 2 that comes off the back of that for Tidal Typhoon. As right at Lucios, they take a last moment attempt to grab that touch, but it's not good enough. And look at how aggressive they're getting, Korvik. Basically in spawn, and to make right click is strong with this one. Boom, another kill, and the stagger is outrageous.
Yeah, the aggression coming out fast and furious right there on the front line. Nerf Bastion here holding up just a little bit tighter. The pace slowing down here as they get to this corner. The big EMP coming out there. Will the follow-up be in? No, because Warren gets out and drops the sound barrier. Not enough to keep Bastion's alive, but a huge shatter coming out of Nerf Bastion. And they will try and get something off of the back of that, but really just an exchange of utilities at the moment. Boom pops the high noon here, looking for a pick, but he's got to find something amazing in the midst of all these shields. He gets Poofa. She pukes out and she loses her head right there. Now ObsCorp driving into the corner here, trying to take down Zoom, but it's Frozen and Tanicby and Zoom. They're all getting in on the action. And a situation that could have been absolutely disastrous for the Reddit Lucios turns around on the back of a beautiful Primal Rage.
Yeah, and not only that, but great patience to wait on that, on the Deadeye as well. Yes, Poof does fall, but it is the Primal Rage that you just spoke of that really allowed for Tidal Typhoon to get pushed back on that one. That said, big ticket items. That's going to be Cash Shoes, Obscort, both off, and well, there's the first. The May duplicated.
Oh, the pressure coming down now. Duplicated May, always a bit of a terrifying prospect. Duplicated May right up in the midst of everything, just trying to generate that blizzard. They will get it out at the absolute last second, and it is good enough to at least get a couple stuck in there, but a Diva Bomb comes sailing in. It's not enough, though, to slow the pace of Typhoon. The storm is here, and it is blowing away all the defenders that are left. That should be everything. A desperation contest coming in, but it will not touch, and look at those time banks.
Awful close, barely nothing between them. 5 seconds to be precise. As Tidal Typhoon, they take a pretty dominant look at point number 2, but what a key stop off the back of Zoom's Primal Rage there, to basically just stop that push well enough that the time makes are essentially equivalent. That really just makes it so that that Reddit Lucios, they're not in any sort of disadvantage here. If they were to have gotten fully staggered like it looked like might happen, then that would have been quite devastating. But I also got to give credit to the Frozen EMP. Whilst it was really big, it found 5 players. It didn't find Worf, who had that sound barrier online. Fair enough. Great job from Worf. But it did put the hold on for just long enough for everyone to get respawned. And then that whole fight could go on and come out as well. We had a brief pause, but we're back already. So no harm, no foul is the Tidal Typhoons. And Reddit Lucios look to close down this, well, close map number 2.
Yeah, it has been close, actually. The Reddit Lucios have really shown some mettle here that they were getting, it was close on Lijiang Tower, but you got the feeling that Tidal Typhoon was relatively comfortable in the driver's seat. Here, though, Reddit Lucios have really been putting the burn on, and I mean, I know there's only 5 seconds in the time bank, but you do get the feeling, Vincent, that the Reddit Lucios maybe feel a little bit more comfortable about what's going on here. Boom showing that Widowmaker early again, and I can't but assume, I should say, that that's for an early attempted pick on Titanic B. If that Pharah does happen to kind of pop their head up over that middle building.
Yeah, it's a dangerous proposition for Titanic B, but again, yeah, it's got to be the case. Interesting if Obscorp keeps the Reaper. This is certainly going to make Zoom's life quite miserable, especially with this double bubble composition. We've seen this attempt to come through, even in the Owl level, just pull out the Reaper and deny the entirety of the Monkey. I think that's viable, but we'll have to see if it sticks. Indeed, it looks like it might. Where will Boom go? It's going to be the long hit scan DPS. This makes a lot of sense to me. Tidal Typhoon, they're looking to close this down and fast.
Not a lot of time here for them to make something work, and losing Star Wars King there early on, well, that's not the way they want to start, and they will backpedal all the way to their spawn right there, Vincent. No choice but to do so.
Yeah, and Worf actually nearly taken out as well off the back of a well-placed biotic grenade from Manny. So everything kind of struggling. And oh no, there's another one, Korvik. Titanic B is a menace in the skies.
Oh, this artillery, it wins wars, and it's working right there. Titanic B raining death from above. 15 seconds left on the clock now, and this is about as close to desperation straits as you get. Frozen looking maybe to jump in there and get a pick on one of these support players, but Titanic B, he's coming up here on that barrage. If he can get it, the immortality field is off. The door is open, and there it comes, sailing in. Unfortunately, not as effective as they wanted to. That immortality field was still knocking around. Frozen gets a kill here, but Bonnie is down. And against the odds, it does look like maybe, just maybe, Tidal Typhoon will be to get this one in. They get 2 ticks on, and they're about to get a third here, Vincent. Not the fight that the Reddit Lucios wanted at all.
No, not quite enough off the back of the, off the back of the barrage, I have to be honest. It looked good. It really did, but it just wasn't enough. And though I will say that I don't want to disrespect Titanic B by saying that they shouldn't have been on that far. By no means is what I'm saying. What I am saying is that you needed to find something more out of that barrage. Even just one kill, would have been ideal, but not quite enough. As now it's all about timing. Got to push these players off the cart as overtime's ticking away already.
Well, here comes Frozen, maybe with the intention of doing exactly that. Does have the pulse bomb in pocket here, just trying to put a little bit of pressure forward. Warp attempts to zone it out, but it's okay. Boom and Nerf Bastion doing big work there. Boom as she dives in, gets that res and gets him back up, but the battle now returned to the top of the castle there, and Zoom, he went home to Roost, but the Roost had already been taken. Now Cashews gets in on the action as well, and this is not looking great at all, I must admit.
Arguably that sound barrier not particularly necessary for Worf, but oh well, you'll go with it, especially if you continue to get this push on. Unfortunately, Nico's just going in far too early for Zoom, who gets caught out, and that's a nice pulse bomb. That could spell destruction.
Well, Frozen gets boomed down, and it's a good pick right there onto Zoom. He was caught in a grab. Even with that Primal, he would not survive. The Shatter coming out there from Nerf Bastion, not enough to pull him off the card. It was close, but close only counts in Horseshoes, hand grenades, and nuclear war, and they will push this one through. Tanikby jumps in over the edge, and Obscorp shuts them down, and they push through, and they cap point number 2 here.
Big cap. That is my catchphrase that I've been working on. I couldn't pull it out just yet, Korvik, but you beat me to it, unfortunately. But nonetheless, Tidal Typhoon. How have they continued this push? It's just been aggression, aggression, aggression. Cashews now swapping over onto a ball, hoping that they're going to be able to disrupt this team just a little bit more. And, well, might just be the ticket.
Well, as a general once said somewhere, the attack, always the attack, and that does seem to be the tempo that is being hit right here. The amplification matrix coming out, and the Red and Lucios are just reeling on their heels, trying to make something happen, and that something comes in the form of Tanikby getting 2 on the barrage. The inspiration is there because Frozen jumps in on the action, but it'll be Tanikby with the quad kill to finish him off, and that just leaves Cashews. He's rolling on the ball, but he will roll right back to the spawn, and that will stop the roll of Tidal Typhoon.
That it does, and I mean, that said, how could you have asked for more if you're Tidal Typhoon? Like, right at Lucios, they got a lot to do here in the what will have to be heroic look at the final push. We're in overtime at the moment in these final innings. It's gonna have to be 2 and a bit, 2 minutes, or rather 2 points and then 47.71 meters to push for Reddit Lucios. And I mean, in fairness, it seems to just be Tanikby, who is the sole definer of victory for these Reddit Lucios. But there's a whole lot of Tidal Typhoon waiting in the wings on the defense to stop them before it even begins. And that's going to be the big question mark for me. Well, can Tanikby do enough? That has been the question thus far. And, well, it's been hit or miss, just to be entirely honest. Remember that first point? It wasn't quite enough, but maybe, just maybe, this time can be different.
Putting the weight of the world there, or at least the weight of Eichenwald, Germany, on the shoulders of Tanikby, so making it a little bit hard for them. Frozen doing a little bit of aim training here in the spawn room, just practicing the tracking right there on Nikos. You love to see it. Only a minute and 8 seconds here in the time bank for the Red Lucios, and they will begin the attack. Tanikby comes sailing in early on. Obscorp, he's just deleted. Goodbye, good night. Type GN in the chat if you like. That being said, though, Pooper goes down immediately, and Cashews gets one more. Frozen managing to keep the dream alive by getting some kills, and Zoom is here too. Cashews, he's getting boxed off near the spawn door. Frozen doesn't want to let him out. We'll just continue to duel the Zarya on the outside edge. All that aim training practice on their teammate coming in big here as they track the Zarya towards the spawn, but it is Cat who wins the fight and maybe, just maybe, shuts this down at least temporarily.
Yeah, it looks like a free tick going to be in there, but ultimately not enough as Obscorp comes back. It was a long enough, drawn out enough fight there in the forward position that ultimately just a little bit of a percentage gained. And listen, that's not insignificant, but with just 18 seconds on the clock, is that going to be enough? No one really close to these ultimates with the exception of Frozen. Even Tanikby not going to have an ultimate online. It's going to have to be the last second desperation from these Reddit Lucios.
Well, the last ditches here. Obscorp unleashing the dragon arrows right there, just trying to find somebody, but Frozen playing around the outside edge, looking for a pick. Unfortunately, Zoom will die. Tanikby trades it out immediately. Star Wars King is down. Frozen, beautiful movement there to skip out of the way of the McCree, but it's all about Tanikby in the back line. Canopy, Raining Doom will dive, and Frozen is there to capitalize as Boom gets boomed in the back line. Frozen, you've got to step up, and you got to play where your other DPS can't. They do. Cashews goes down, and add Obscorp to the tally as well, and they will flip the point and push it onwards.
Yeah, and it had to be Frozen. Frozen picking up where Technically left off in that fight. What, 3 for Technically, 3 for Frozen? I'm telling you, this DPS duo is absolutely outrageous for the Reddit Lucios. As now some ultimates are online. That Primal Rage can buy some time, as can the Valkyrie and Nano Boost for that matter, but that might be a little bit late.
High nude coming out there from Boom, or at least attempted, but they call it a suicide ult for a reason on the high deck. That will be Boom taken out of the equation. Now, Wharf is up here still providing a little bit of coverage for the team, but there is a Tracer in their midst. That's Frozen again, just causing absolute havoc as that car continues to push forward. Now the speed boost coming in right here, trying to put the pressure on. That'll prompt a Primal from the unfortunate Zoom, who's shattered and slammed. The Clone Slam comes in too, but they can't capitalize on either of their ults right there, and that is unfortunate indeed. 3 ults committed and no real value for it. The car goes a little bit farther forward. Wharf going in for the boot, but it's enough to disrupt the point and title Typhoon. It didn't look like they were going to do it, Vincent, but they will walk away with map number 2.
Yeah, I mean, listen, after that push in overtime in the second period, I felt like Tidal Typhoon kind of just had it, but it was Technically who was trying to make statements, trying to adjust, and it was this that stopped them eventually, but it was not to be. As Tidal Typhoon take the two map advantage in this one. Reddit Lucios going down, but man, is it a close one. Tidal Typhoon just barely over the edge, and I mean, indeed, they forced them off the point, and that's the thing that Reddit Lucios got to be kicking themselves on. There was 3 players there, and they just couldn't get anybody back on in time.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, can the Reddit Lucios dig deep inside and find their inner upvote here, keep this one alive, or will Tidal Typhoon just storm them right out of the building? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with this first of 3 series in just a few minutes. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to GitGud NA Season 7. It's the intermediate winners semifinals here. I am Corbeck, joined by Vincent. Tidal Typhoon versus the Reddit Lucios here. Tidal Typhoon scraping that 2-0 here in the first of 3 series, but it hasn't all gone their way.
No, it has not. I mean, it's been a close affair. It has not been one-sided by any means, I wouldn't say. But when you look at the scoreboard, it certainly looks like it. That said, Tidal Typhoon just barely bringing themselves over that edge to put themselves into that 2-0 spot. That said, it's going to have to be one more map in a row for Tidal Typhoon to take this in 3. Reddit Lucios get the pick, and it looks as if they've elected to go with the map of Junkertown. And so I think that's an interesting one, because it's very different than pretty much both of the maps that we've seen from just a gameplay perspective and from a compositional perspective. We could see a vast array of different options here in comparison to what we would have expected on the likes of Eichenwald and Lijiang Tower.
We could indeed see a wide variety of options here. Sniper Town, right? We saw that a lot back in the day.
Oh, yeah.
We used to see a lot of Protect the President, Pirate Ship, whatever you want to call it here as well. And I have seen it. I have seen it recently. It does still happen. So don't think that's been put in the closet, never to come out again. But we'll see here in just 20 short seconds exactly what we will be expecting from these 2 teams. Again, the sides are what they are. Reddit Lucios will start off on the attack here. Tidal Typhoons starting on the defense. And the Reddit Lucios actually did a pretty good job on attack, didn't they, Vincent, on Eichenwald? They put up respectable numbers. They just could not finish it in overtime.
No, I mean, their second attack just not as good. And I mean, honestly, I don't even blame them. They had to do that one attached at the hip to that cart. So that is an indeed a much more difficult scenario to unfold. Let's take a look at the compositions here. Well, You did talk about Sniper Town, and it certainly seems to be the case. We got 4 snipers on the field. At least 2 of those certainly going to stick around for the time being, and Boom and Obscorp. As Gapshot, this is interesting. I don't know about the solo horse, the Orisa alone on Gapshot. It's worked, but at the same time, it's quite difficult because you can be left out in the open fairly easily.
Oh, Boom. Oh, yeah, we didn't see that, buddy. That's okay. Nobody in the lobby saw that. They saw Obscorp instead. He got Tanic beat right there on that early pick. Now Frozen trying to return fire just a little bit and immediately getting bullied right there by Cashews on that wrecking ball. Boom eats a shot to the face. Doesn't quite go down. Now Frozen. He's looking for a target here, and, well, not quite finding the sight lines that they like. A bit of a slow, cagey approach here, but that's probably what you would expect with double snipers on both sides. Boom there going for the peak, but it'll be Obscorp again who strikes early Zoom. Bodied right there by an arrow to the dome, and that is unfortunate indeed. The card, however, continuing to push here up until it reaches this bridge point, Vincent, and this is where things might just slow down a little bit.
That they will. And by the way, Gapshot coming in here for Nerf Bastion. Gapshot, the normal main tank player. So Nerf Bastion was in for just a little bit, I guess. Gapshot now back. Love to see that, but boom! Oh man, 2 shots, 2 kills.
Not sure if it was the name or the onomatopoeia right there, but Boom indeed was what was coming down the pipe. And said Boom, though, he's running for the hills because he takes a little bit of damage on the backside. Now Frozen pushing up here with a more aggressive angle, but Tanic he might be good on the flyers, but he cannot match Obscorp in this Hanzo to Hanzo battle. Obscorp now with the dragon straight up the gut onto the high ground, very nearly catches Nikos looking right there, but Cashews continuing to apply the pressure still. Boom is found on the outside edge by Frozen as this exchange of long-range fire continues. Frozen pops the sights here and just tries to set up for a sideline pick. He's looking for the Mercy right there. He won't quite find it. Now he's playing a little bit of peeks. He's here with Obscorp as Cashews comes dropping in. Frozen taking tons of damage. The pocket is there, but it'll be Obscorp again to finish him off. The Hanzo coming out of Obscorp has been great, and perhaps that's why he's the target of this gravitic flux. He's lifted up in the air, smashed back down. Now Poopa, unfortunately, she peeks out and gets her head taken off, but still, the push will come forward. But Boom and Cashews, they're still alive, and they're still applying the pressure. I say that, though, Cashews will go down. Star Wars King was playing tight on the front. It's just Gapshot 1 there, trying to be the lone hero. Unfortunately, will not manifest today.
No, and I mean, ultimately, it was right at Lucios. They kind of took 2 angles at the same time, and that's the weakness of the likes of a solo Orisa. You can only cover 1 angle, and you have to commit to it. So, I was kind of a bit questioning the solo gravitic flux from Nikos, but hey, it worked, so I won't complain too much. As Boom, no more headshots, at least not on the Widowmaker, as it's going to be a Tracer for this swap.
Oh, Frozen takes a significant amount of damage there and has to backpedal just a little bit. Boom did make that switch, and unfortunately Nikos is right there to shut him down. Tanic now spamming some shots up towards the high ground. Does possess the dragons here if they so need it. The healing coming out there from the Zenyatta as Frozen swings the corner, looks for a pick, but doesn't find anything but shield on that one. Tanic now pushing it forward on the cart with the tanks. This double shield allowing them to take a lot of space right here and just shove their way forward. By hook or by crook, though, it's Zoom who will die first. It's good dragons there. The dragons actually cross in the middle. Out comes the Transcendence to keep things alive. Cashew managing to swing and kill in the midst of everything. And it's Gapshot 1 up on the high ground with a little bit of help from the Amplification Matrix keeping things alive. Gapshot 1, though, he's down on the ground. The pressure coming on immediately, and they will sustain here through all of that madness.
Yeah, I mean, gotta just keep backing so far. Just Tidal Typhoon. That's the weakness of their composition at the moment. But it is a pick-based composition, so as long as they can find that value in the long term, it's okay. But that cart pushed quite a long way. Dwarf no value out of the Valkyrie, swapping to a Zenyatta. This makes much more sense considering the pokey nature of the composition that Tidal Typhoon are looking to run, considering as well that right at Lucio's poke is incredibly strong with the DPS lineup they're running.
Well, just a bit of a chaos, a maelstrom down there on the low ground as they're getting peppered from multiple angles here, but it'll be Obscorp who strikes first. Frozen does drop. Boom continuing to apply pressure here, just trying to farm that pulse bomb, dives in and gets Poopa down. Poopa did manage to trade out a kill on a gap shot one. Nikos trying to repair the damage here, stem the bleeding, and they'll actually stem the bleeding and more because they're shoving forward.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, not only Obscourt, but Boom as well, who's done well, is down. The supercharger from Zoom comes out, but it's immediately countered. That's no supercharger available, and that's a big tool out of the toolkit of Reddit Lucios gone.
Well, it's a good Dragons across the point there. Zoom already weakened by that tracer damage. Will go down, and they continue to fight here around the point. Poopa and Mounty, though, the support line coming in big. Star Wars King just trying to keep the team alive, under pressure this entire time. Star Wars King on 4 health will be finally found by Nikos, but they did manage to get the minefield down. Now Dragons comes in, long searching Dragons from spawn. But I have a feeling the fight on the point is pretty much over. I say that, though, when a quick re-engage comes in. Now they're still fighting it out here. Gapshot 1 trying to hold on to the point by themselves. Now Warp jumps on and tries to keep it alive. Cashews comes swinging back, but it's too little too late there from the ball player. And, well, it's just cleanup duty now around the point.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate, right? Because Reddit Lucios, I think, had this one disadvantage, and they come away with the victory anyway. Tidal Typhoon, they look like they might have it as another wholesale change comes through. It's gap shot, no more Orisa, Reinhardt the name of the game. So looking, especially with Worf swap onto the Lucio, to just attempt to walk past these shields and engage quickly onto your opponents.
Well, now they're facing a bit of a difficult situation here, though, Vincent, because the high ground is under the control of Reddit Lucios. They're going to actually use this as an opportunity to engage right here, and they're putting the pressure on. Now the drop is coming in. Cash is over on that Diva, but it's Gapshot 1 who dies here. Frozen getting the pick early on. Frozen continuing to apply the pressure. Beautiful shot onto the back of Obscorp. He was running away, and Frozen's going to continue to work that line and get Star Wars King as well. Now Tanic B here on the card, just trying to secure it as best they can, and they will win the victory there. And, well, the pathway is open to them.
Yeah, Worf doing a good job of stalling. No, without Worf, that could have been disastrous. Basically, no attempt without Worf there to re-engage. Now there is that time, and it's going to be the Ant Matrix to come out.
Ant Matrix does drop there on the front line, putting Zoom under a lot of pressure. The High Noon comes back, but it's not combined with the Chromatic Flux, so they will not get any kills off of it. Instead, it's Boom who goes to town with the 6-shooter. Bang, bang, go the gun, and down go 2 members of the team there for the Red Lucios, and that will be more than enough for them to stabilize their defense.
Indeed it will be, and some key ultimates as well coming up online here for Tidal Typhoon. They absolutely can start to look at a potential victory, and oh no, Poopa, she has been failed at the worst of times. That is a key stagger from Cashews onto Poopa, and it makes life miserable. Reddit Lucios have one more shot at this realistically, but with Frozen taking out the main tank and the immortality field early, that's another big problem.
Oh, Nikos, he's lucky to escape with his life right there. Nearly 8 Dragons to the face, but Obscorp goes down here now as well. It's a good pull right there as Zoom does commit to beat down Bongo to everything. Back comes the Dragons behind Nude, coming out from Boom on the outside angle. Doesn't do enough. Warp does go down. They're going to hunt down Cashews here on the outside edge as well. You hear the Shatter coming in the front line. That is a vain effort to try and slow this steamroller down, but it might not be enough. Still, they pushed it into overtime. Obscorp going down on the outside edge. Nikos is there. They should push this through. A desperate contest coming in from Warp. He'll dance around for a few seconds, but no, the club is closed. No more dancing. And that will be the end.
Yeah, well done to the tank line in particular there of Reddit Lucios, but everyone stepping up and stepping in to that full push, as there's no time left on the clock though, so there is a potential for something to happen here, assuming that Tidal Typhoon also push and they keep some time. But regardless, that's a long way away at this point, as Tidal Typhoon have to push all the way through with the treasure of the Junkertown in tow. Reddit Lucios, I think they've done a pretty solid job of what they were looking for. I think compositionally, they kind of just outmatched Tidal Typhoon the whole way. The solo, I feel like the ball only got, 1 or 2 moments where it was really working well, because elsewhere and the rest of the time, it was just that Gapshot was playing a battle that he was never going to win with the poke. Yeah,
a lot of pressure was put on the Gapshot 1 right there to just kind of stand alone, basically. I mean, you were relying on Cashews being able to play that ball and put pressure on the backside in the midst of those fights. And I mean, we saw Cashews do that a couple of times, right? There was a good kill there on, I believe it was Boom, maybe, or I can't remember, no, not Boom, onto Frozen, I think it was one who they sectioned off and just brought down. But I mean, you saw on the second point right there, Vincent, it was too little too late by the time he came rolling back in.
Exactly, and we're going to see some interesting ideas here from Tidal Typhoon once again, as there is not that double shield. They're electing to go a different direction. Both of the snipers back online, but it's the pulled pork hook combo in a great effect, though yet to be finding anything just yet.
Roadhog back in, back alive. Get them hooks out there and see what he can pull down for the team. But it's not looking so great at the moment because they are just powering through here underneath the bridge already. Boom. Oh my lord. Wow, that was beautiful. Tank just loses themselves right there. Boom continuing to apply pressure on the outside edge as Cashews does chime in for a kill right there. And well, they pop up Poofa and they bring Poofa down, and they are just sailing through this first point.
Yeah, I mean, this compositionally makes a lot more sense, though, because it's Cashews and Gap Shot with the pulled pork that you know, make it difficult on the front line. It applies a lot of pressure. And then Boom and Obscorp on the outward edges of everything can really start to find big value. And, well, we saw Boom do just that. He continues. Line him up and knock him down. Nearly another one there as well before getting taken out by Tanakby. But it's still good ideas happening right now for Tidal Typhoon compositionally, and they're putting it together and making it work.
Well, Obscorp now trying to play this angle basically by himself. The dual pressure not there at the moment as you see those dragons go sailing towards the carp, and no big joy to come out of that. Obscorp is more than happy to just continue to play this angle, and there's Poofa caught looking right there. Out comes the dragons. That'll buy him a little bit of space. It'll also force the Transcendence here from Monty. The only healing they have online is that Zenyatta, and Obscorp, he realizes that he's going to push up right here and take advantage of the situation. That being said, Warp is down on the other side. A trade of healers right there is aggression coming out from Zoom to turn this one around. Oh, I don't know about this, Vincent. This is going to be very tight indeed because the amplification matrix coming down on the front line. They've really just got Zoom in position here, and Zoom, he's dead. Cashews cleaning up.
Nobody's touching. That's the problem, Corvic. That would have been, you know, a solid fight back, right, from the likes of Zoom, from Tanakby, but when nobody's touching the cart, it just doesn't matter. There's just not enough time to contend with, and now Tidal Typhoon, they've got 5.5 minutes to push through point 3. Now, granted, this point can be a tricky one, the hardest of them all, if you will, but ultimately, it's still not going to be an easy task for Reddit Lucios to hold this off. They do have some tools, and, well, those tank ultimates going to be the two big ticket ones, as it is going to be the Impresites to come out first.
The Impresight does come out, but Frozen just not able to capitalize. They can't hit the shots when they need to. That high ground already in possession here of Tidal Typhoon, and that's a solid 5 minutes now on the clock, and that's going to be a mountain to climb. Cashews with a beautiful pick there onto Nikos, and the res coming in there on Boom, so they will keep that high ground control in the pocket. Hello, don't forget about Tanakby. He's still up here as well, and Tanakby, he was pretty much ignored by everybody but Worf, and he'll make some good eating out of that. Gets a couple of kills right there and wrecks that high ground control.
Well, listen, I mean, Tanakby nearly turned the last fight there on point 2 on their own. So let's just not pretend that that is someone you want to be forgetting about. It's certainly not. Obscorp going to have a potential dragons online here. Tanakby the same, but it's really going to be all about whether or not the supercharger can find big value for either of these sides.
Well, Gap Shot 1, he gets crushed right there, consumed by the Dragons of Tanakby. It's a good pull there to try and pull Obscorp out of contention. They'll try and shut him down, but it won't quite happen. Now, Bob is getting invested here as well. That'll be Manning getting split to the back line. Tanakby added to the total there as everybody's favorite robotic butler contributes for a couple of kills. Unfortunately, that kill feed lighting up blue, and the Reddit Lucios, they are on the back foot here with just 3 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, and the worst part about it here is that now a big combo online. In fact, an even more deadly one now. is Star Wars King going to have the large window in place. Gap Shot could throw down the supercharger, and with Cashews throwing the whole hog in the mix, that could push everyone off this point.
It's a beautiful bay window there, but another beautiful bay window coming out on the other side, and that is a view that they do like on the side of Red and Lucios, trying to get a pick here, but they will find Cashews. He swung wide, looking for something, but flank hog, we don't do that anymore. He will go down. Boom here taken out as well. The res does come in. A bait and searching hook there from Nikos won't find what it was looking for. They will be forced to invest the immortality field here, but they are racking up the kills slowly but surely. The duo of Frozen and Tanic B coming into its own there, doing a little bit of work, and they will secure here. Still 3 minutes to burn though.
Yeah, but a big mistake from Tidal Typhoon. They had the win condition. They didn't use it. And Gap Shot already going to be using that supercharger. Got no value out of it last time out. And now Cashews has to do this whole hog all alone. Not to mean that that can't be effective, but it is going to be a bit more difficult this time out. As Nikos, we saw the adjustment onto the hog, but the hog 1v1 doesn't go his way. It's Cashews to take it.
Tanic B gets Boom out right there, but the res does come in from Wharf. Now Obscorp here in a dangerous position playing out from the low ground, but Tanic B's not letting Boom have any room to play. Cashews here using that whole hog to great effect, creating some space. Tanic B, though, trying to save the day. Tanic B gets another one. Frozen coming in on the other side. They've trapped him down low. Tanic B adds one more. The raid boss here of the Red and Lucios will not be denied. He goes into a final stage right here with 2 minutes on the clock.
Oh, man, Tanic B has bailed Reddit Lucios out of so many situations. It's outrageous at this point. Every single time they go down, it's Tanic B to just stop the bleeding. And that, again, another example where the investment was through for Tidal Typhoons, and they couldn't do anything about it because Tanic B, as well as Frozen, in fairness, both found huge value. As now Bob out online, and that's going to go out. It's going to have to be the Valkyrie and Star Wars King off the back of that to take advantage.
Oh no, Tanic B is down. It'll be Bob who cleans up right there. Cashews getting in on the action as well. Oh no, the kill feed lighting up blue. Frozen does have the high needle in the pocket, but to use it now in this situation would be asking for death. He'll fire a couple of shots around the outside edge and just roll in to contest the point, but Boom has uncontested control of the high ground and effort there. Oh, out comes the whole hog and the Transcendence, and they might just be able to zone this off, and Tanic B is back in action. You just can't keep him down. Boom alone on the high ground, throws in a couple of dulcitary shots and then falls back, and they are burning this time bank.
Ow! How does Reddit Lucios take what's ultimately a 3v6 and turn it around? I understand that the spawn advantage is there, but it's just not enough. Tidal Typhoon, they have to make this statement now. They're just fresh out of time. It's been 5 minutes and they haven't gotten a single darn thing.
Tanic B, he's back from the grave. He wants a little bit of revenge for what happened to him last time. He hasn't quite found the target for it yet. Tanic B kept alive on the top ground, fires those dragons point blank down the gut, tries to swing for the kill, but he's got a whole hog in front of him. No, he gets one. Boom is down. Now the fight continuing to go. He'll look to deny the res on Wharf. Can't quite bring the shots down. Instead, he will die. Star Wars King here to finish it off, but now Frozen picks up where the other DPS left off. Frozen fighting like a madman on the top deck. Just wants to keep his team in this playoff berth, and he's doing a good job of it as Cashews is all occupied here, and there's no time left on the clock. It's overtime now. Here comes Frozen. The pulse bomb down on the backside. He's blowing his way through, and Frozen will be there to save the day. Tanic B chiming back in at the last second, and Cashews cannot clear the point with another whole hog. And despite everything, a 5-minute 40-second time bank, the Reddit Lucios will pull off a miracle at the end of Junkertown.
No miracles here. It's simply Tanic B, Frozen, and clutch plays, as we're about to see here in the play of the game. Reddit Lucios, they have a savior in the name of Tanic B. I mean, it's just outrageous the amount of times that Tanic B solo saved. I mean, this is another, I mean, that was the prime example of it right there in the play of the game. I mean, what do you do? I feel like I have to call Tidal Typhoons out on this one because they should have capped. I mean, you have 5 minutes. There's just no excuse. You could have sat on 6 ults and pushed Q all at once. That's a possibility. But they didn't do it. I mean, it was and it was an incredible bunch of plays from all of Reddit Lucios to put them in position to steal a map away here, in what thus far has been a Tidal Typhoon game all the way.
Yeah, you're right. You can't do anything but put the blame on Tidal Typhoon. Their match to lose. I mean, they had more than 5 minutes. They nearly had 6 minutes. They were blazing fast in
Oh
those
yeah.
first two stages, just completely unstoppable, really. And it looked like Reddit Lucios didn't have an answer. And then we get into the third stage, and the Reddit Lucios, they just find themselves. I don't know what it was. They channeled their inner kind of like inner upvote I said earlier and just powered their way to the top of the list. They did not want to be defeated. Now, though, the question remains, is that a flash in the pan, or is this going to be a momentum shift here? Because Tidal Typhoon, I don't know about you, but if I was in that situation, the mental going to be a little bit cracked right there, just a bit dented, like somebody lightly hit you with a Toyota Prius.
Yeah, I mean, the key part about that was lightly. But yeah, no, I have to be honest. The mental probably a bit boomed at the moment, but I have faith that Tidal Typhoon can bring it back. You don't get to this sort of position, I think, by being that mentally weak. What I will say, though, the question of will this be a turning point, a momentum swing? The momentum certainly on the side of Reddit Lucios right now, but that momentum was created off the back of the need of having a huge spawn advantage for the last 5.5 minutes. We can't keep that under wraps because that doesn't happen if it doesn't come down to being able to lose 3 players at the beginning of a fight and then overwhelm your opponent with a player advantage at the end of the fight, despite the fact that you lost early. That is certainly a part of it that we can't forget. So Reddit Lucios, they're gonna have to do it, and they're gonna have to do it well. But I've heard in my ear that we have the map pick in and ready to go. We know where we're headed, and well, maybe, just maybe, Reddit Lucios are going to have the opportunity to have that advantage because it is the Temple of Anubis.
The first map in all of Overwatch, the first map ever created here, entitled Typhoon. Well, they just came off of the back of that grueling 5-minute attack, and they're going to have to jump right back into it here on the offense again. The Reddit Lucios going to be sitting pretty there on the defense, at least to start. Now, we talked about spawn advantage. It was a huge factor right there. Temple of Anubis, it's known for nothing if not draws and spawn advantage, right? Two big things that go hand in hand. And we see the defense coming out here from the Reddit Lucios. And, well, this is a pretty standard setup from them. They have managed to get Tanikby over onto that Echo again, and we saw just how deadly that was in the past, and I can't help but feel that's going to make absolute millions here on this Anubis map.
Yeah, I mean, just throw Tanikby on whatever they want to play because that's been the thing that has been the most effective, in all fairness, for these Reddit Lucios. But Tidal Typhoon, on the other hand, I'm interested to see what they've run out on. If they run with the more standard double bubble, or if it's going to stick with this Reinhardt May, that is obviously going to give some sort of advantage in the up close brawl, but Zoom and Nico's, they're going to have the ability to disengage a little bit easier. And of course, Tanikby, we talked about time and time again, that's a way to make gap shots life quite miserable.
Indeed, and Gapshot, well, he's had his fair shares of ups and downs. He played admirably there on the attack and on the defense over on Junkertown. Can he pull that back in again? The health going down very low, but this brawl comp, they just want to get the tight engage here and do what they can in close quarters, get somewhere where they can get Obscorp in to do some wreckage on this May, and it looks like they are closing that gap, so the ice block is forced early on. Still, this engagement in general is looking quite good for the Typhoons. This is what they want to do right here. Frozen there, getting an early pick onto Boom, though, will not help things. That is a major source of DPS going down. They are forced to invest the Immortality field as well, and Tanikby is just being an absolute nuisance from the high deck. Tanikby, though, drops down, spins back around, and just blasts Obscorp right back to the spawn. He'll go ahead and wrap up Star Wars King as well, and, well, this attack is pretty much over. It's just going to be a rather academic member of seeing who they can clean up at the end.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's definitely out. Got to get out, and hopefully Cashews can leave with some charge, and indeed does. But, yeah, ultimately, there's just so much pressure from so many angles from Reddit Lucios. This composition from Tidal Typhoons, if they don't path a bit more correctly, I don't know that they're going to be able to dislodge it, particularly with the ult advantage that Reddit Lucios now has in hand. Speaking of pathing, this pathing looks better, but again, the ult advantage is now very firmly within the side of Reddit Lucios.
Well, Nico's there going to answer the door and not liking what was on the other side. Zoom gets one early pick here onto Obscourt, but not before they lose Manny, so not the best trade in the world. Frozen, though, has a pretty good angle here to continue to put damage in as Tanikby goes in for the clone. Manny gets res back in. Now Tanikby does have that shatter on the clone. If they choose to use it, they will invest it. It won't quite work out. A Dragon's fired off there by Boom does manage to add Tanikby to the kill count, but they still keep fighting. And they will keep going, but Cashews, they'll get Zoom. Cashews gets another one. Cashews looking like they bathe in nuclear waste there, surging in over the top, getting 3 for the team, and breaking this nut open.
Big mistake there from Reddit Lucios. You never want to engage where your opponent has the advantage, and up close and personal, that's where Tidal Typhoon, they love and live. As it is their place to shine up there in that high ground position. Reddit Lucios, they try to collapse upon it, but, you know, again, given enough time, that brawl just takes everything away from Reddit Lucios, and they invested everything indeed as well. So huge ult advantage for Tidal Typhoon coming into this one, not to mention a big pick. Boom! Taking out Zoom.
Boom! Taking out Zoom. I love it. The onomatopoeia right there. The world's scariest Dr. Seuss book. But speaking of scary, that point is just collapsing right now, and they're going to need an absolute legend to touch. And I think I saw, maybe it was Nico's trying to force their way on there, but no, it will not be done. And Tidal Typhoon, well, they're indicating to me, Vincent, that they would like to end this.
Spawn advantage? Question mark? I mean, that's all I have to say. Tidal Typhoon just saying, I'll show you where to shove that spawn advantage, and making a statement here on their first attack. And I'd say first attack because it is Temple of Dranubis, like you said. So, like, yeah, probably going to have at least one more of those if you want to be honest about it. But that is going to be all up to Tidal Typhoon's defense here, which has not been all that shabby across the field today. That said, this is a unique scenario. And, well, speaking of unique, this composition certainly is a unique one in that we haven't seen it thus far from Tidal Typhoon just yet. Obscourt going to be over onto realistically, the angry Swedish man. Do we really think this is that surprising? No, not really. The Torbjorn making an appearance for the first time here makes some sense on Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, you can get a lot of value out of Torbjorn here, and that's not just because I'm a Torbjorn advocate. It is actually true. I do like him a lot, and he's always fun to see him run out, but there are some good turret spots here. He does add that extra dangle of damage. And you see the turret up there in that corner kind of hanging out on top of the window frame. That's a classic place for it to be, and we'll see what they make of this, Vincent, because it is an interesting setup. Tanikby coming out over the top immediately trying to put the damage in, and is met by a flurry of gunfire there coming out of Boom. Tanikby, though, not one to be discouraged, will continue to apply the pressure. Does have Poofa providing the pocket here as well. So a lot of damage coming down the gut right now from that. And Frozen, well, they're just looking for an opportunistic pick on the low ground. A couple of arrows do manage to impact past the shielding there on the front line, but nothing they quite like yet. They're playing this very cagily indeed as arrows come sailing in. Obscorp will lose their turret right there as Tanikby just continues to be an absolute nuisance. But really, Vincent, they're not capitalizing on this at all.
No, and I mean, that turret, if anything, can be an extra check on the likes of Tanikby, if needed, but just farming up some ult charge is what Tanikby's doing. With the 70% and popping like that is certainly not a bad idea. As we see adjustments come in, Zoom on the ball now, and Nico's taking Sigma is the plan for the time being. That means that this comp really is all about trying to find a pick, but pick's not forthcoming just yet.
The Spaceball composition in action, but again, we're just kind of playing this long-range gun battle around the door, and that's our first pick in a while right there. Frozen does go down, is res back in because Mercy laughs in the face of God, and they will just continue going right here. Zoom firing up on the high ground now on the ball. Not the traditional position to be, but he will try and make a swing out of it on the high ground. He'll go right back down, and after all of that pushing, poking, prodding, will be Tanikby who dies right here, as for a moment the Reddit Lucios looked like they were going to commit to a different style of attack and then gave up on the dream. The Molten Core coming out right there a little bit early on, just trying to pin them in this corner and allow for some aggression right here as Opcorp throws the turret down. They'll actually pop the Transcendence here as well as Nikos gets bullied. He'll get res back in, but it's Boom with the high noon on the tight angle there on the inside edge. Oh, and this is looking a little bit rough here for the Reddit Lucios.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, you get a consolation tick, sure, but that is what it is. Consolation at the very end of a lost fight. Ultimately, Tidal Typhoon, Reddit Lucios, seeming to have a bit of an, being unaware of how to engage with this competition that they're running. What you need to do is you need to get Lucios into that position on the right and then allow Zoom to engage. But I guess this is one way to do it.
Oh, the chromatic flux, the gravitic is going up and down right there as the immortality field is used up by that. But again, nothing really to capitalize on that. Tidal Typhoon here just hugging the wall, praying for safety as finally somebody does go down. Now Tanic Bee unleashing it all right there. The Sound Barrier coming out to help block out the Dragons. He's got a Shatter here, just throws it point blank into the enemy team. Nothing really coming of it, but he's just trying to box him into a corner. He'll lose that clone and fly back up into the air, but Frozen does die in the midst of all of that. Still, they're not getting the picks they need to. Boom is not here to contest this, and they are not finding the deaths that they want. Frozen, however, trying to turn that around, finds Obscorp and brings him down. Unfortunately, nobody can stay alive. The trade's too fast and too furious at the moment. Nikos is here trying to hold on. Zoom under a lot of pressure. Nikos just gets panned right at the entrance there, and that is done and dusted.
Yeah, I mean, lots of disparate parts coming together there for Reddit Lucios, but I mean, look, Manny's still on the high ground here. Like, what is going on? I mean, Manny gonna ultimately be able to touch this and putting a lot of damage down, but now, oh no, the McRight click from the back line. That's a way to shut down any sort of high ground aggression.
And speaking of high ground advantage, Boom will move in like a cuckoo moving into a nest and then just hold up there on the high ground with that high noon, waiting for the proper opportunity to use it. But they're going to just get aggro on the front door right now. And oh, there's a back cap going on. Nobody say anything. Oh, they recognize just in time. They come sailing back on. It's overtime. There's no one really to touch. And oh no, Reddit Lucio ends not with a bang, but with a whimper. Tidal Typhoons takes the map and takes the series.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Reddit Lucios, I think they just didn't really know what to do with the composition they were running. They saw, okay, they're playing Brawl, and they knew, okay, the swap is to go onto the ball plus the Sigma, like, and that is a viable strategy, don't get me wrong, but ultimately, they just didn't know how to engage with it. The ball was always just an afterthought. You have to engage with that ball if you're going to do anything with that composition, and Reddit Lucio's just a bit lost on it. This Tidal Typhoon take the map and the series 3-1 in style. As honestly, I mean, that's kind of what we were to expect considering the first two maps, but listen, after that 5.5 minute hold on Junkertown, I was willing to give Reddit Lucios, as much rope as they were going to take, because certainly they put on a solid fight.
They did indeed, but alas, at the end of the day, not the new trend, just a spectacular blip on the radar, a desperate last stand, but not able to capitalize on it at all on the next side, and that will do there for our intermediate winners semifinals. But don't go anywhere, there's another game coming your way. It'll be 07 Salt NACL versus, I believe, Help Desk Hogan in our next match, and that's not one you're going to want to miss, because this Help Desk Hogan team, they are something to see. Stick around, we'll be right back with that matchup after this break.